So today we're going to talk about partitioning a line segment. Essentially all that's doing is cutting a line up into equal pieces and figuring out which points fulfill a given ratio. Okay? Your first step every single time when doing these problems is plot the given points. We're going to plot -1, 2, and we're going to plot 7, 14. And label them as well. And make that segment. We have this line segment AB with those endpoints. And what we're going to do is find the change in Y and the change in X. Alright? To find the change in Y, all you have to do is count up. Or down. Whatever. I always start with the first point they gave me. That's important. So if they gave us A first, we're going to start with A. And we're going to count up. So count up until you're aligned with B. How far did we count up? Then to find the change in X, you just count over. How far did we count over? 8. Make sure you keep the sign rules are important. So if you count up, it's positive. If you count right, it's positive. If you count down, it's negative. Or if you count left, it's negative. You have to pay attention to those. That's your first step. Plot the points. Find your change in Y. Find your change in X. Then you're going to divide each of these by the total number of parts. Move it down a little bit. Okay. To figure out the total number of parts, all you have to do is just add your ratio together. Okay? Well, if we add the ratio together, what's 1 plus 3? That's your total number of parts. Okay? Divide each of those by that number. Well, what do we get when we divide? What's 12 divided by 4? 3. Good. And what's 8 divided by 2? Oh, sorry, 8 divided by 4? 2. Okay. Once you do that, when you get your change of X and your change of Y, you're going to take those values and add it to the point you started with. So we counted from A, so we have to start with A. Okay? If you counted down and over from B, that means you have to start with B. Okay? Whatever point you start counting from, that's going to be your first point. Okay? So A was where we counted from. A is going to be our first point. You're going to add your change in X to the X value, and you're going to add your change in Y to the Y value. When we do that, -1 plus 2 is what? And 2 plus 3 is 5. Right? You're going to repeat that process until you get your second point. Okay? So we don't have it yet. So we're going to add 2 and add 3. Okay? 1 plus 2 is 5 plus 3 is 8. Still don't have it. Add 2, add 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 8 plus 3 is 11. Still don't have it, but when we do it a fourth time, 5 plus 2 is 7. 11 plus 3 is 14. We have our second point. Okay, stop doing it. Not done with the problem, but you can start adding. Okay? Once that happens, what you're going to do, this is where that ratio comes into play. Because we want to divvy up this line to have 1 part with 3 parts left over. Right? Because essentially what we did, we found points that will evenly divvy up this line into 4 total parts. So if we plot them, you don't have to plot them when you do this problem. We're just doing it for a good visual. We plot all these points. 1, 5, 3, 8, 5, 11. Oops. You notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. So the distance in between all those points are the same exact distance. Okay? We want to know what point gives us one section with 3 sections left over. So to do that, you're going to start with the first point and count 1. Whatever number's first, you start with the first point and count that number. That's going to be one of your answers. 1, 5. You repeat that with the second point. You start with the second point, count 1. That's going to be your other answer. Right? You can see they give you a good visual on the line. If you do that on the line, yeah, -1, 2. If we count, here's one whole part. There's one part with 1, 2, 3 equal parts left over. Okay? So we want one part with 3 parts left over. We did it from the other point, 7, 14. 1. Well, here's one whole part with 1, 2, 3 parts left over. Okay? Helps you visualize what exactly we're doing on the line. You don't have to plot the points on the line and count on the line. You can just do the work here, but that's essentially all we're doing. There's one part with 1, 2, 3 parts left over after it. There's one part with 1, 2, 3 parts after it. Okay? Questions over there? It's the same exact process every single time. You're just dealing with different numbers. This process, every single time, you're just dealing with different change of y's and change of x's. You're dealing with different endpoints. You're dealing with different numbers that you're adding to your x's and to the y's. But it's the same process every single time. Different numbers.
Yep, it does not change. You're doing the same exact stuff. All right, you're just trying to chop up this line into whatever it tells you to do. In this case, it was 4 because I did 1 plus 3 is 4. Let's try on the next one. Again, plotting those, you don't need to plot those. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes not, but you really do need these green points in the middle. That's what we really need. Okay, well, let's do exactly the same thing. We know we have to graph these points, so let's graph these points. So I'm going to graph A at -2, 4, -2, 4. Call that an A. B is going to be a 7, -2. B, and I'm going to connect my line. What's different about this line compared to the one we just did a second ago? Jacob? It's going down, right? Yeah, our slope's going down, negative. So that means we're going to have some negatives in some of our answers. Let's be ready for that. But I'm going to do the same exact process. I know it's not labeled up here like it was before, but I'm going to try to find the change in y. And I'm going to try to find the change in x. And this really is just, we're trying to find the slope of this line. So, change of y. If I go from my first point of A, how do I go from A to B? Give me directions how to get from A to B. What do I have to do? What do we got? I have to go down, right? So let's just see how far we have to go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And since I went down, what kind of sign would that make that? Negative. So I went -6. Fantastic. I went -6. Now I'm going to have to go over to get to B. How far do I go over? Well, we'll count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it's because I went to the right, it's going to be a +9. So I have -6 and 9. Now I need to divide this number by the total number of pieces I want to chop this line up into, partition into. How many pieces are going to be in this segment, this partition? 3. How do you know that? Because the ratio, I do 1 plus 2 is 3. It changes almost every single problem. So 1 plus 2 is 3. It's 3. This guy's 3. Divide them out, and this will be my new change that I will add to each of my points. Always reduce this. -6 over 3 reduces to -2. 9 over 3 reduces to 3. So my new change in y is -2, and my new change in x is 3. Awesome. So now I'm going to add these, or subtract these, onto my points. And I'm trying to cut this line half. I'm not going to draw partition the line where I put the points on, but you'll just see where they're at. So I started with -2, 4. That was my first point I was given. I now want to add these values on. So I'm going to do x. I'm going to add 3 to that. And my y, I'm going to subtract 2. So when I do so, what will be my new points? -2 plus 3 is this number. And that number is, not all at once, take your time. Yeah, 1, thank you. And then 4 minus 2 is 2. So our new point for that one is 1, 2. Cool. Is that 7 -2? No, I gotta keep going. So I'm gonna add 3 minus 2 to this one. Let's see what I get. 1 plus 3 is 4. 2 minus 2 is 0. Still not 7 minus 2. Gotta keep going a little further. Add 3 minus 2. There's my 3. 4 plus 3 is 7. 0 minus 2 is -2. Hey, look, I made it. I made it to my point. So I now have enough numbers to figure out. Now I was going to see what points would satisfy this answer. I want a ratio of 1 to 2. I want one section that's just 1 unit long, and I want 2 sections. The other one, let's see what those are. So which points would make that a true statement? So point number 1 would be, and point number 2 would be. Well, start of the first point. How many do I to count? How many points should I count? It's my new point. Lauren? 1. Because my first number is 1. So I go to my first point, and I say 1. So this point right here will cut it, partition this segment in a ratio of 1 to 2. So 1, 2 is my first segment, or my first point. To get my second point, I'm going to go to the last point, my point that was given, the B1, and count how many for that. 1. Let's count 1. Hold on. There is my second point that would satisfy this. And that point is 4, 0. I'll show you this because I think I'm looking at some faces and some people are still, their minds are blown here. But 1, 2 is there, 4, 0 is there, and then the other one's there. So you now see that we have 3 different sections of the line. We have the purple one, the green one, we got this red segment. You see how we divided it up into 3 different sections, 3 different segments? They're even too. Now, what I want to do is this. Why did we choose, why is 1, 2 one of them? Because look where 1, 2 is. It's right here, that purple segment. So that is a ratio of 1 segment, and there's 2 equal ones left over, right? There's 1 there, and there's 2 side by side. There's also another place where I could have 1 segment and 2 left over. And that would be down here, this red section. So if I go here, that section is 4, 0. So I have 1 section of red, and I have 2 of the purple and green. So that's why this is partitioning in that way. Questions on that? See how it is? The process is the same. Find the change, write the points, find the ones that satisfy that ratio. Ready, set, 3.
Okay. Again, 3 is the exact same way we've been doing it. There's one typo though. This should be 7, 1.
7 point, get rid of 5, 0, 7, 1.
7, 1. Alright, go ahead, plot those points. Same steps every single time. So you have -3, -4, which is our A, and then 7, 1, which is our B. And go ahead and next. Right? Just like we've done every single time, find your change in Y, find your change in X. So we find our change in Y, how far do we go up? 10. Okay. Then what do we need to divide by? How many total parts do we have? 5. Add the ratio. 3 plus 2 is 5. Yep, that's 5 divided by 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Okay? What point did we start counting from? Started and counted from what point? A or B? Okay. So that's a point that has to go first. If you flip-flop it, not going to be the right answer. Okay? You'll never reach -3, -4 if you accidentally flip-flop it. So make sure whatever point you start counting from, that has to go first. And then add your x to your x value, add the change in y to the y value. And you keep doing that so you get your second point, 7, 1. So -3 plus 2, what are we giving you -3 plus 2? 1. -4 plus 1 is 3. Keep going. -1 plus 2. 1. -3 plus 2 is -2. Keep going. 1 plus 2 is 3. -2 plus 1 is -1. Not there yet. Keep going. Same steps every time. Some problems a little quicker than others. 3 plus 2. What are we giving you 3 plus 2? 5. -1 plus 1? 0. No, not there. But one more time, we finally get that second point. 5 plus 2 is 7. 0 plus 1 is 1. Once you have that done, look at your ratio. What's the first number in your ratio? First number in our ratio? 3. So, 3 is the first number in our ratio, so we start from first point, count 1, 2, 3. That's your first point. Okay. Keep the same process from the second point, 1, 2, 3. That is your point number 2. So 3 is the first number in your ratio. So whatever the first number in your ratio is, that's what you're counting. So 3 was the first number, so we count 3 from both points.
The last two examples were 1, so that's why we're going to count 1.
Yep. Questions over that? There are 2 more, and your time to practice.
Alrighty. So, number 4. So you guys feel like you're doing a great job getting the hang of it. Well, we're going to throw a wrench at you. Say, nope, you're not that good. But you know how to do at least this part. It's the same process over and over again. Graph your point. So A is at 1, 1. A. B is at 7, 3. B. Smaller segment now. Before we do any work, how many sections are we going to divide this up into? 4. You guys look at the ratio, you add those numbers together, that tells you how many pieces it's going to chop up into. As you guys can tell, look at this line, these are going to be pretty small pieces. Because if I'm dividing this in 4 different pieces, they're going to be pretty small. But let's do the same process. Let's find our change in y, and let's find our change in x. And by x, I mean change in x. Delta. Alrighty, let's find that. So if I'm at A, where do I have to go to get to B? I have to go where? Up. Ready? 1, 2. 2. So I went up 2. How far over do I have to go to get B? 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 is correct. 6. You guys already told me how many segments we want, and we wanted 4. 1 plus 3 is 4. There's that. There's that. Some of you are already saying something right now. Because you know your next step is to reduce this fraction. 2 over 4 reduces to 1/2. Uh-oh. Our increase is a fraction. That's okay. It will still work. Just make sure you use your calculator, double check yourself. You're not very good with fractions. And then 6 over 4 reduces to 3/2. But it doesn't matter. It's going to stay the same thing. We're going to do the same process. Graph my points. Find the change, find change of y, change of x. Start with my first point, which is a. So this is at 1, 1. I'm still going to add the change in x, the change of y. They're just fractions now. So you really got to make sure you know how to work with fractions. Use your calculator. I do not want decimals. Leave it in fraction form. So I'm going to do 1. I'm going to add a 3 over 2. And for the y's, I'm going to add 1/2. So what is going to be my second point now? So what is 1? What is 1 plus 3/2? What? 5/2. 5 over 2. There's that segment. Or that point. What about 1 plus 1/2? 3 over 2. Okay. Good. Well, 5/2 and 3/2 is not 7 and 3. So we got to go again. Add another one. Let's see what we get. 5/2 plus 3/2. Well, the denominator is the same. That might help your math a little bit. 5/2 and 3/2 gives me 5/2 and 3/2. Yes, thank you. 4. Because it's 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is, in fact, 4. What's the other one going to be? 3/2 and 1/2. 2. There's the same denominator. 3 plus 1 is 4. Divided by 2 is 2. 4 and 2 is not enough. We got to go again. So, same thing. Increase it by the fraction. We should get another fraction here in a second. 4 plus 3/2. What? 11/2. And 2, what's that? Is, I would definitely make sure, we're saying this, a lot of people are just writing down answers. I know you get in that zone, but you really need to practice this skill if you don't know how to do it. Because we're not going to be there with you saying it, or there's not going to be someone in the room saying your answer. So really double check yourself to make sure you know this. 2 plus 1/2. You don't have a calculator, turn that 2 into fractions with the same denominator, add them together.
That's when it comes to your test. John asked us, how do I do this in my calculator? Because we've given you plenty of time now to try it and figure it out. You need to be practicing now and ask questions if you don't know how to use it.
So it is. What did you say? 5 over 2. I think your number may have been a little different. They're not the same. We have one more to add, it looks like. 3/2. 3/2. We'll do so. 11/2 plus 3/2 gives me a 7. And I do 5/2 plus 2, or 3/2 is 3. That's what I'm saying. That's not helping me out here. Nothing here is not working out. 1/2. That should be 3. Good. So do I have my first and my last point? Yes, I do. Now we've got to count our partitions and see how far we want to go. So point 1 is going to be something, and point 2. How many points am I going to count to figure out what it is? Just one. Whatever my first number is, just count one. So my first point is going to be 5 halves, 3 halves. How do I find my second point? Go to the bottom and count how many? 1. Same number. Here's the bottom, count 1. There's my second point. So it's going to be 11 halves and 5 halves. There are my two segments, my 2 points that divide this up into a ratio of 1 to 3. Fractions aren't bad, but you need to practice that skill. Again, remember using graphing calculators. You do math, enter, enter, will turn into a fraction. Or if you use the fraction bar thing with the alpha y equals. Is that alpha y equals?
Yep.
Alpha y equals, you'll also get that fraction bar. It will simplify it on that.
Having a graphing calculator makes your life easier with these type of problems because it makes fractions really easy. If you don't have one, make sure you're getting one. Alright, one more. Give you time to practice. So we take a look at 5. It says given the points A, -3, 5, and B, 2, -3, find the corner to the point that partitions A, B in to the ratio 2, 3. So again, lots of points. Yeah, I'm going to already -3, 5. This is A, and 2, -3. And I always like to start with the first point they give you. I'm going to start with A. Find the change in Y, find the change in X. So when we find our change in Y, how far do we count down? How far? Yeah. Good, very good. Negative because we went down. How far do we count over? 5. Okay. What are we going to divide these two by? 5. Full number of parts. 2 plus 3 is 5. What's 5 divided by 5? 1. Can -8/5 reduce? No, so you have to leave it as -8/5. Again, this is why graphing calculators are great, because they make fractions really easy. So what you're going to do, write the point you counted what from. We counted from A, so A is going to go first. Add these values. We're going to add 1 to the X. We're going to add, or subtract, doesn't matter, -8/5 to the Y. Well, easy math, -3 plus 1 is -2. That's 5 plus -8/5. Leave it as improper fraction. What'd you get? 17/5. Yeah, that's it. Very good. Repeat the same process. Plus 1 plus -8/5. Well, easy math, -2 plus 1 is -1. What do we get? We get 17/5 plus -8/5. What'd you get? Which is, careful, 17 plus -8. Close. Nice. Oh. Repeat the same process. Easy math, -1 plus 1 is 0. 9/5 plus -8/5 is what? 5 plus -8/5 is, think the bases are the same, so it's going to say 5. What's 9 plus -8? 1/5. Keep going, not quite there. 0 plus 1 is 1. What's 1/5 plus -8/5? Then bottom stays the same. Combine the top. 1 plus -8 is 7. Almost there. Plus 1 plus -8/5. 1 plus 1 is 2. -7/5 plus -8/5 equal what? That's it. -3. We reached our second point to -3. So we're not. Once you get that, you're going to start with your first point. How many times are we counting? 2, because that is the first number in your ratio is 2. So start with the first point. Count 1, 2. That is your first point. Repeat the same process with your second point. Start with the second one. 1, 2. That is your point number 2. Done. And this is what we want. Great. Questions over that? Same process every single time.